Hey guys, this is lesson number 2 of our figure drawing unit. What we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be looking at how to draw feminine bodies. If you haven't looked at the masculine bodies just yet, I would recommend checking that one out first. There's a lot of just kind of like preliminary stuff that I talk about in that video that you might need for guidance for how to draw feminine bodies. So make sure you check that one out first. But if you've already done that one and you know what you're doing, check this one out, how to draw feminine bodies. Alrighty guys, I just finished a drawing of Spider-Man. You can still see him there. Learning how to draw masculine figures. We're gonna move on to feminine bodies now as well. So that's the second page of your handout. Yeah, take a look at it. All the instructions are there as well. But I'm just gonna kind of do a quick guided walkthrough on how to draw feminine bodies. Set things up very much the same as you would a masculine body. It's going to be about 8 heads tall, so I'm just going to use the same rulers as I did from the last video. Yeah, and we're going to start by drawing a head. And the reason that we're doing this, it's exactly the same as for masculine bodies. And I'm going to start by drawing a head. Remember, a head is basically your unit of measurement whenever you're drawing any body. So you won't always be able to draw lines like this, but if you just start with a head, you'll instantly have basically this ruler set out for you, right? You should be able to measure everything off of this just one head, okay? The same thing as with the other set of bodies there. We're going to start with the spine. We're drawing our skeleton, and it's going to go all the way down to the bottom of space number 4. So all the way down, basically right in the middle. Right, so that's our spine. I'm going to draw that egg shape for the rib cage. Now, feminine bodies are not as broad as masculine bodies. Okay, so where we had about 3 heads wide on Spider-Man, it's only going to be about 2 heads wide on this figure that we draw here. Okay, so I'm going to draw going up to about a third of the way up. So if we divide this into 3, should be about a third of this space should be for the neck. Then we're going to bring this down, and you should be able to fit basically 2 heads wide, like a head here and a head here on either side of the rib cage in order to gauge the size of your rib cage. Again, it's going to go down to the bottom of section number 3. You guys can't see that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just so you guys can see where we're at again. That's going to be where our rib cage is. And again, that's an egg shape. Doesn't have to be perfectly round. We're going to draw in the ribs, or sorry, the hips, and the hips are going to be a little bit different than with masculine bodies. We're going to draw kind of another oval shape. You'll notice that masculine bodies are kind of V-shaped, right? There's kind of this broad shoulders, and I have these arms that come down, right? And you have these hips that aren't as wide as the shoulders, and they look kind of something like this, right? Feminine bodies are different. You have more of an hourglass shape. They're not as broad. They're kind of something more like this. Okay, so that's going to be sort of the basic generic shape of where we're going with. So I'm going to draw basically another, almost a circle, but it's going to be more egg shape. It's going to go slightly below section number 4, so it's going to be creeping into section number 5. And it should be as wide as your rib cage. Okay, so if you want, you can draw lines going straight down. Really lightly though, okay? And it'll look something like this. It's like a snowman. Okay? Okay, we're gonna keep going with our legs. So again, the legs are gonna kind of go from the edge of your circle. You can draw circles there if you want for the hip joints. But we're gonna continue this down until they're resting on space number 6. Okay, so if you want to draw your circles first, that's fine. Draw these a little closer together, I think. Something like that. And you can connect them as well. So they should be resting right on line number 6. And then continue them down, right down to the bottom. That's where your ankles are going to rest. Basically, your heels are going to be resting right on the ground, right? These circles here are your heels. Technically, yes, your ankles are slightly above, but right there, okay? Now I'm going to go back into the shoulders, and I'm going to draw first our shoulder muscles. And again, these are going to be sort of ovular shaped as well, so rounded. You can have them resting sort of on section number 2, and roughly the same level as the top of your rib cage. You can be slightly below, it's fine too, but they're not going to be as big as the masculine bodies, right? This is a big muscle here. Feminine bodies don't have quite so big of muscles in general, right? So just keep that in mind. Everything will be a little bit more delicate on this body, on this figure. All right, so we're gonna continue our arms down, reminding you again that the elbow is gonna be resting right on that 3/4 line. So the bottom of 3, top of 4. Same with that. And again, remember, if you were to put, this would be where the belly button is, right in between those elbows, just like that. And the wrist is going to be right on number 4/5. Actually, you can put it right underneath, something like that. So resting underneath basically the top of number 5. And remember that your hands are, if they were extended or in a fist or whatever, they'll be kind of creeping down your thigh a little bit. They should be going down your thigh. Okay, so basically that's the start of our skeleton again. We went through that real quick. That's great. Now what we're going to do, section number 2, is to sort of start getting basically flesh on your skeleton, right? So we're just going to connect the dots, the outside of our frame here. Get the neck on there. Now with the body, the rib cage, what we want to do is we want to kind of keep this hourglass shape, right? So we're going to go in, we're going to follow the outside of this this first big egg shape that we drew. We're going to go in, and then we're going to go back out to line up with the hip, okay? So it's not going to be straight down. There's got to be a bit of a curve there, okay? Something like that. Okay. Continue down, get the legs in there. So the thighs, again, they're not just straight lines. Almost no part of a body, of any body, is perfectly straight. It's basically nothing. If you look at yourself, look at your hands, look at your arms, look at yourself in the mirror, there's nothing that's perfectly straight. Everything's going to have a slight curve to it, right? The calf muscles. Gonna go down here. Oh, forgot the forearms again. Grab my pencil sharpener here, getting a little dull. Okay, and our feet. Something like that. Okay, that's basically our basic form. Now, women have breasts, so we need to make sure that we get part of that in there. Okay, so the way that those line up, they're going to be basically 1/3 of the way down section number 3. Okay, so if I just draw a line across like that, that's where that part of the anatomy is going to line up. It's right there. Yeah, so that's where you can put that line there. And if you want to start just kind of roughing things in, that's fine. Just something like that. Perfect. Okay. Next step is, of course, to start erasing our guidelines. Okay, so everything that's kind of inside this area is where you want to get rid of it. Get rid of things. So go ahead and erase all that. Until you're left with basically just an outline, contour drawing, if you will, of a feminine body. Okay, we did Spider-Man here. Who should we draw on this side? Let's draw Black Widow from the Avengers. So if I recall what she looks like, she's got hair. We won't worry about the face, but we will draw the hair, and they kind of say it's kind of curly, I think, and it kind of comes down kind of past her shoulders. We'll pretend that it's kind of behind her back, or behind her shoulders, going down her back. Give her some bangs, something like that. If you want to just try to draw like a T shape on her face for her features, that's fine. Okay. Draw her, she's got kind of a collar thing here. Something like this. She's got these big wrist bracelet things. So just draw some lines on there. A belt. Her little Black Widow symbol there. All right. Get some of this anatomy back in here. Something like that. We forgot to do the rib cage, so we'll put that in there. Back in there like that. I think she's got boots on. We'll give her boots. Put some muscles in, some areas around the knees. All right, so get those knee caps back in there. Something like that. All right, and that's basically how you draw the feminine form, a feminine figure. Yeah, so take a look at, if you haven't already, take a look at the masculine video as well, so you know how to draw both kinds of figures. Next, what I'll do is we're going to learn how to draw figures in various different poses, and yeah, how to get more than just standing up straight, and using kind of the tools that we learned for these construction sorts of ways to do things in that same way. All right, so you guys can stay tuned for that video right away as well.